So I was leaving a networking meeting today, and one of my colleagues said, "You always have an opinion about everything, and it's always a strong opinion." It's not the first time someone has said that to me. And I remembered again, I keep forgetting and then keep remembering that I said I was going to start a podcast. In fact, I bought some really good equipment for it back in 2019, but I just didn't get started. And so I don't even really want to go live right now because I don't even feel, you have to sort of get yourself into a certain mindset. But I need to shake off the cobwebs and get back into the practice of talking about things because I do have some things to say. And I'm not sure that everyone pays as much attention to some of the nitty gritty as I do. And I think I could sum up some stuff pretty easily for y'all if you were curious. So something that's happening today that I think is really worth knowing about is the fact that Tucker Carlson went to Russia to interview Vladimir Putin. And, you don't have to be a humongous fan of Tucker to be aware of the fact that he's been, persecuted by the mainstream media and by our government. The CIA was spying on him the last time he was trying to arrange an interview with Putin. And now that he's there and he's already done the interview, it hasn't been released yet, but we know it's 2 hours long and it's coming soon. I mean, I expect it to be released, on X or on the Tucker Carlson network, maybe tomorrow. People are losing their minds and literally calling him a traitor for talking to the leader of Russia. And the thing is, it's not just people on the left that are doing this. Okay, Jen Psaki is saying it, and, talking heads on the left are saying it, but I don't know if you know who Sebastian Gorka is, but I think he was in, which White House was he in? He was an appointee with one of the Republican presidents, and he's got a show and he's always talking somewhere. Even though he's not even a U.S. citizen, I don't think. I think he's still a British citizen. But he lost his mind about Tucker, saying that he shouldn't have done this. And, here's the thing about everyone having a big opinion, is that we're all very left versus right, and I was very left versus right for a long time as well, until I realized that it's all just, like George Carlin said, it's all one big club, and you ain't in it, and I'm certainly not in it. There's a little statement that's circulating on X right now that apparently Putin said that it doesn't really matter who the president is of the United States because the presidents come and go and they change, but he still has to deal with the same power structure he's always had to deal with. Of course, we'd all love to know exactly what he means by that, but what he's basically saying is that there's a uniparty. I mean, as evidence today, so there was a movement to impeach Mayorkas, right? Because he's allowing literally millions of illegal immigrants to come over the Mexican border every year. Nothing's being done about it. And that includes nothing being done about it by anyone on the right. And that's because it's a big uniparty. They couldn't even get the votes they needed, even though the Republicans have a majority. The Republicans couldn't even get the votes they needed to go through the impeachment process with Mayorkas. Why is that? Well, the reason why is because it's really all just one big group. It's the left versus right thing. I'm not saying that it isn't real. I think that it is real. I think that leftist policies move us toward the wrong direction and absolutely help advance a globalist agenda more quickly than policies on the right. But Daniel Horowitz, he's an interesting conservative commentator. And a year or two ago, I remember hearing him talk about how the Republicans are just as bad as the Democrats. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not even a Republican. I'm nothing anymore. I'm no party because, again, I'm not in the club. So I don't want to pretend like I'm in the club. But he said, who's worse? He said, you've got someone in a room beating a man to death. Say you've got a Democrat inside a room beating a man to death, but you've got a Republican standing outside the door, keeping anyone from going in and saving the man from being beaten. So who's worse, the man doing the beating or the person allowing that to happen? Yeah, I mean, I think an argument can be made that it's worse to be the person outside the door, knowing what's going on inside and not only not doing anything to stop it, but facilitating what's going on. So we can't stop the flood of illegal immigrants over the border, and not because we can't, but because they don't want to. They just don't want to. I mean, the overall goal is pretty sinister, really. The goal is to is to change the demographics and change the culture of the United States. This is happening in other Western countries as well. It's not just about, in my opinion, it's not just about getting a bunch of Democratic voters in. It's about diluting an American way of life and shared values, a shared value system. And the reason why it's not going to stop is because the current administration wants it to happen, but it's worse than that, because those in power who are on the right, who are conservatives, who are Republicans, who are whatever it is you want to say about them, they're really not fighting that hard to make it stop either. You've got a governor in Texas who's putting up razor wire, and at least that's a gesture. I mean, at least that's real. That's logistically a real thing to do to try to stop the invasion. But what we've got in Washington, D.C. is a bunch of really, really bad people who like what's going on. And we're really just ants in their weird little ant farm. And they've got bigger fish to fry, you know. I'm sorry to mix metaphors there, but they've got bigger things going on, a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of influence, and on a global level. So it's really of no interest to them whether you can afford your groceries or your gasoline or not. That's irrelevant. It is to some degree not worth worrying about to them, and it is, on another hand, it's actually a feature, not a bug, because the poorer you are and the more disenfranchised you are and the more discouraged you are, the more likely you are to look to them for solutions. You know, they create the problem and then they show up with the solution, and that's really what's happening. And so to kind of loop back around to Tucker, I think it's very easy for us when we're seeking voices of truth and we're looking for bravery and courage in a world that has just become so fraught with so much obvious evil that we're looking for a hero. And I think that's why people really feel the way they do about Trump. They think he's a hero. He's not a hero. He's just a man, and he's an incredibly flawed man. I mean, on a personal and moral level, the man is guilty of much scumbaggery in business and in his personal life, and he didn't do all the things he promised he was going to do. So if, you know, he's not a hero. He's just a dude. But we look for these heroes. And one of the dangers here is that then no matter what they do, we excuse it. And I think when someone like Tucker Carlson, he's doing some brave work, and he's actually being persecuted and has, you know, fought a power structure, and he's, you know, lost his job. And I mean, let's not worry about Tucker, though. The dude's got money. He's always had money. He's going to be fine. You know, no one needs to worry about him. But we ought to be really careful about, like, then deciding that because he's brave, that we should listen to everything he says. I don't know. He's a privileged kid who grew up in La Jolla. Like, he and I can't identify with each other on a whole bunch of levels. And I don't trust him. We don't need to trust him. We just need to watch him and listen to him. And when he does something right, then we go, yay. But be aware that he's going to do something wrong as well, because we don't know his motives. God knows his heart. We don't know his heart. I look at Elon Musk, for example, and people, man, we're so hungry for a hero. He's no hero. He's no hero. Okay, so he bought Twitter, and he's a free speech hero. First of all, he's no hero. I mean, he just barely let Alex Jones back on. You can love Alex Jones or hate Alex Jones, but if you don't let Alex Jones have a Twitter account, then really, how much are you truly for free speech? I mean, let the man talk. Let the white supremacists talk. Let every evil person talk, and then let grown-ups make their own decisions about whether to take it in or not. Elon Musk, you have to remember, he bought Twitter for a very specific purpose. He said that it would make it easier for him. It was a shortcut for him to build the equivalent of WeChat, you know, the app that's used in China, where everyone's financial and social credit, like where all the systems are all in one app, where they can like turn off your life in just a second. And that's what Elon wants to build, is something like that. So he's no hero. I mean, we ought to be really careful about elevating any of these people. And just because they do something right, or they say something right, or they are the victim of persecution, that doesn't mean that everything they say after that is correct or true or valid or worthy or productive. It just doesn't mean that at all. So I just think we have to be really careful. I think it's ridiculous that there's speculation that Tucker Carlson could be arrested when he comes back to the United States for treason, for interviewing a world leader. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. But the thing that makes it not ridiculous, like the thing that I think it's such a good opportunity to remember that it's people on both sides that are looking to fight against anyone who wants to bring any kind of truth. And at the same time, let's not look at Tucker as anything other than what he is. He's a guy who has the ability to gain access to someone like Putin. He's curious, he's interested, and he has an audience, and that's great for us. That's awesome for us because he's going to get us access to information that we are not going to get any other way. But he's not a hero, and he's not perfect, and I think, though, when you see the entire power structure fight a person, at least to me, that makes me pay more attention to what that person has to say, for sure. So I am interested in what Tucker Carlson has to say. And the more they try to keep Trump out of office, the more interested I am in seeing what else Trump can do for us in office. They're no heroes, though. And I think that's the thing what I'm thinking about today is being careful about who we listen to. There isn't a single person with a microphone or a TV show or a lot of followers on social media who I trust. I don't trust any of them. But there are some whose opinions I find more interesting, more valid, more worth listening to. But then I feel that it's my responsibility to be as educated as I can be and pray for discernment, literally pray for discernment, and have the ability to know when I'm being fed a line and when I'm being taken down the wrong path, and when, not everything that we hear, though, is like good or bad. Some stuff just is. And so being able to sift through that is super important. And it's something that I work on all the time. It's just being aware. So that's the message today. Not that you need me to give you a message. Like, I'm not a person of any authority or I have no moral weight to throw around. That is for sure. I'm not the most educated person about what's going on in the world. I just know that there aren't any heroes, and we shouldn't elevate anyone to be one. But when the entire power structure wants someone to shut up, that's when I want to hear what they have to say. And if you're one of those people who's sort of, grabbed onto it's easy to grab onto like a group of conservative pundits and podcasters. And I think about like the people who are over the Daily Wire or the people who are on the Blaze, and they're very conservative. But they basically all share a brain. They all say the same stuff. You can turn on Michael Knowles or Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens or I wouldn't lump Glenn Beck in the same way, but you can turn on like a variety of these conservative pundits, or go on X and follow a variety of people, and for the most part they're saying most of the same things. And that's just as much propaganda as anything that you're going to get out of Fox or CNN or MSNBC. That's leftist stuff. So just listen and weigh it all out and decide on your own what's worth, take the best and leave the rest, as they say. I'm curious to see what it is Putin has to say, and I'm curious to see if there's going to be any backlash for Tucker when he gets back. I think it would be very foolish. I think that it's a way to start a civil war almost. You arrest Tucker for interviewing Putin. I mean, they're just pissed because, what was it? NBC interviewed Putin, and Putin basically called America out for political persecution and prosecution of the J6ers. So I think a lot of it's sour grapes too. Anyway, Putin's going to say some stuff probably to Tucker that he was never going to say on network television. And, they didn't get the scoop and they're mad. I get it. We should just be careful who we listen to and not elevate anyone. There's no one really worth elevating. They're just people to support when it's appropriate and people to listen to when they're speaking the truth. And we just have to keep our little truth filters very, very well honed and very well practiced, so that we're not taken down the wrong path by anyone that we decide we trust. We shouldn't substitute anyone else's judgment for our own, and it's easy to do in a world that's full of so much information coming at us so fast. We just say, oh, okay, well, I'll listen to this person, and whatever they say, that's probably right. I think that's a dangerous way to live in the world right now. So anyway, that's just my opinion for what it's worth. All right, have a good night.